soon as I get my hobby shed done, I'm going to be going.
All right.
And then you tell us when we're live.
We're live.
We are live already?
We're live. Let's go.
Awesome.
Are we live, boys?
We never have a smooth intro anyway, so it's always like this janky start.
Maybe we'll get some like intro music so they don't hear us talking about it and like play me in.
Yeah, I was thinking about like creating some sort of soundboard. Like you got to have that like We Bare Bears horn that I don't know if anybody watches that show, but anyways, we have another episode. We're back for Red Star Roundtable, but this time the podcast that was started by gentlemen with faces for radio have decided to go all webcam. And we
Look
have
at us.
the Wall Street broker, Josh. Me, the puppy taco crushing Hispanic, Mike. And, of course, the bearded one, Will.
Your local trailer park resident, Will.
Yeah. And we have a special guest today. My favorite guest, because you are the voice of pragmatism. Ken, welcome to the show. Welcome again, brother.
Someone's got to do it.
You're always like this like voice of reason versus my flipping out over everything, or me and Will's. I've pretty much had it with
Negativity?
Space Marines, going on and on.
And then
But
just aloofness, not knowing what's going on.
and then Josh is like, "Where do I gonna get some barbecue after this?"
Did we start already?
Yeah. Let's see. So today we're talking about hobbying. No, we're not talking about hobbying. That's what we're going to talk about first. But we're going to talk about hype. So we got a pretty packed show. We're going to try to keep things kind of loosey-goosey now. Are we? Yep, I see it live. Let me just go on to the YouTube channel so I can make sure the chat is going.
But it's going.
Yeah. All right, man. So obviously we've been off since before Christmas. I had some surgery. Josh has been healing up. And then obviously the holidays came and went, but we wanted to make sure that we pick back up in January. But we wanted to do it with the webcams. I feel like it's more like personable when you can see people's faces instead of just that rotating banner. I don't know about you guys, but
Definitely. It just feels better, man.
yeah, I think so. But
it gives something to look at other than that same rotating pictures.
right,
over
the same
and over
rotating
again.
pictures.
And they're all old pictures because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, so we don't have anything new to share with folks.
That's right. Help. Go ahead, Ken.
It lets you transfer your rage properly when we say something that's wrong, so they
Yeah.
can know who to get angry at.
That's true.
Well, or if I say something inappropriate and they're like, "Well, look at him. We expect that from him now."
Or they're like, okay, now I've got a name to that face. I'm gonna cancel that dude.
That's right.
If I see him in public, it's
Yeah.
different.
Let me find him on Facebook.
Okay, so obviously we've had since our last podcast, we had a lot of time, a lot of awesome stuff has happened on all of our hobby tables. For one, Josh is back able to hobby because he got his arm is healed.
Got
hand
all
is
his
healed.
patas back.
I wanted to start by I had this idea. So I play Astramil because in the world of 40K, just being the guardsman and like the humans, you're always the underdog. And I find that the most appealing part of, you're just a regular dude in a world full of space horrors and superhumans. So I've got a ton of Astramil, and I've been slowly building some deathcore kind of behind the scenes. And then I started thinking about, well, man, I'm going to have to buy these tanks over again and then paint them with the deathcore paint scheme because I run a Catachin. And then I had the idea, it's like, what am I doing? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint all of my vehicles in a neutral color scheme that can be used for any one of the regiments that I run. So if I want to, go third party and buy a bunch of Mordians, they would have the same color scheme. My Catachins, instead of having the green color scheme, they've kind of got like a urban warfare look and feel. They'll be coming to a table once everybody's back up and running. But anyways, I wanted to unveil. I finally finished my last tank. So this is my neutral color scheme. This is one of the Forge World Hellhounds, which are so much more badass. So they got the
Is that a blue?
Yeah,
Is that
it's a
or is
blue.
that a green?
It's a blue. It's got blue, and then of course, I've got 9 of these bad boys, and then artillery and stuff. So anyway, what I'm saying is that the project I want to have is to be able I can use all of these vehicles for any regiment I have, and then they'll all have the same look and feel. So in the past I tried to keep it. So here's a Baneblade I have of what my Catachin used to look like.
See, I like that. Your other ones, they look more like Sons of Gilliman kind of shit, you know?
Ultra Smurfs.
Well,
It's a good urban camo though.
yeah, it's a good
where,
or like
you know,
urban kind of camo. This webcam doesn't do it justice. There we go, a little bit closer.
Well, let's get some
Sounds good.
pictures. Let's get some pictures taken. And let's post them to the Red Star
Yeah,
page.
we can totally do
not
that.
the group, but the actual page, and let's show everybody your hard work.
Yeah, we could do that. But because of our unofficial sponsor, LA Totally Awesome was used. I bought the biggest can they have in a bucket, and then I was able to fit like 3 tanks in there. It was cool is that I wrapped like a kind of like this rag around it, and I put some rocks in the rag so that they stayed submerged instead of floating. So 3 at a time, left them for about 3 days, took them out, scrubbed them down, perfect, re-primed them, repainted them. The whole project was done. So it took me about 2 months to be able to do it all, but I was able to get it done. And I'm happy with the prospect. So I'm kind of trying to modularizing, I guess, making this a modular army. And I'm building heavy weapon teams that don't have troops on them. So if I want a heavy weapon team, it's got a heavy bolter, and I'll just put 2 Death Corps guys on the base, maybe some blue tack or something, and then the same thing with some Catachins. So I didn't want to spend the money on buying 3 Catachin missile launcher guys, and then 3, las cannons of Death Corps. It's just going to be the platforms, and I'll just put the dudes on them, and then we'll go from there. So
That's just economical, baby. That's all.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not made of quiche.
You know,
Although I'll take
Microsoft down 3 points. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take So, and I don't do the Bitcoin, so I don't have that much like kind of, quiche on the side.
So speaking of LA Awesome, I just want to throw this out there while it's on the top of my head. Ken showed me this pickle jar jug thing the other day.
It's the jalapenos.
Dude, that's it. I bought one of those, and that's probably one of the best hobby purchases I've made in a long time. So I fill it with LA Awesome, and then I can just pull my minis up, and I don't have to dunk my hand down there. That thing is freaking awesome. $4 on Amazon, I think, is what I paid.
What if we got one of those, those barbers things that they keep the combs in? We fill it with LA Awesome.
Yeah,
we
just
pull it up.
Same thing, except, like I said, I paid $4 for that off Amazon.
I found one at the Dollar General too for $1.
where also you can
Seriously?
find LA Totally Awesome. Please
That's
sponsor
right.
the show.
There it is. You can find it anywhere with dollar in the name. LA Awesome.
Simon is like, what was that? It was one of those. It's for jalapenos, right? Am I not? Isn't that what those are for?
Well,
Yeah.
it's a pickle jar, but I first saw it because my in-laws use it for jalapenos, and I was like, I got some jalapenos. I was like, that's pretty nice. And
There you
then
go.
went and found me one.
It's so weird. Is it when you are into these hobbies, you have this other eye and this other perspective of looking for stuff. It's like that would make some sweet terrain, right? And you're
You
like
see
going
Aaron
down
in
the
the chat?
goldfish aisle.
See Aaron in the chat how he uses them for pickles at work because he's a chef at Southerly, and he's like he didn't even think about using it for hobbying.
There you go.
Well, I actually
Innovation.
I just got my electrical changed out, and I got my main breaker box done, and I got all new breakers. And we were pulling out the old breaker, and I was looking at it, I was like, this would make like a good power station or something like that on a terrain piece. So just anything, it seems like you can use.
Anything you have lying around. I know a guy with a beautiful, luscious beard and an accent that is making, speaking of, that is using anything he can find to create the Uber Underhive. Will, you want to tell us about your just amazing project?
Oh man, I'm throwing anything I can on those tiles at this point. You can't really see it, but this is my game table. This is the under construction hive back here, and at this point, it is it's consuming my life. I have no free time anymore. But
Just
I think it's gonna be
dog
worth
biscuits, you know, as terrain.
it. Anything. Hey, crush it up. That's good basing, man. But it's been a fun project. It's very intense project. Probably the biggest undertaking that I've had, and I've been hobbying doing this stuff for 20 years. But it'll be fun. I think it'll be. Say now, I just got a good excuse for. I'm like, hey, you guys got to get into Necromunda, and then when people are like, I don't have terrain. Right here.
Yeah.
Let's play.
Dude, I can't find a gang that I really want to get behind on Necromunda. I want to play it because it seems so awesome.
Yeah,
but I
me and
just
Josh
can't
played. We
find a
played that one
gang.
intro game one time. Just go Goliath.
If you
I
just-
don't want to
yeah,
go
but-
Goliath.
Well, okay.
Goliath
So
is too
so what
burly
what
for me.
so
Look at
what
me,
play
I'm not
style
burly.
do you? But what play style do you want to do? Oh, okay. Well, so if we're going off of that, there's this game called Escher, and they're very like small, agile fighters, and then you can play those.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
He doesn't want to play Goliath because they're too meaty. He won't concentrate on the dice.
We're not body shaming. Hey, if you want to play Goliath, you play Goliath.
I've got damn it, what is the name of? I always ask you this. What's the name of the ones that I got? Those techno guys.
The Van
Sar.
Zar.
I got Van Sar. So you can't take Van Sar, is what I'm saying, Josh.
I might go for the cop guys, dude. Those dudes
Yeah.
look pretty
Oh.
dope. They look like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, those guys do. You can
They
get the
get-
Judge Dredd heads for them.
Yes, you can. Third party.
They look
Minute-
pretty dope.
Who is it? It's I think halfway through this doggone broadcast, I'm gonna be like, that's who makes those. But Mike Brown, who played in our last campaign, he has all the Judge Dredd heads on his Palanite Enforcers.
Yeah, and then you can go like, I am the law.
Yeah, there we go. The enforcers.
Yeah, Palanite Enforcers. And they get free rookies in campaigns. So if your
There you
guys
go.
die, you're just like, here's a new rookie.
You
Here's
hear
a new
that,
rookie.
Josh? Free rookies. I don't.
I
know
guess
what
I
that
could
means.
use them. I don't know what
Yeah.
it means, but
Your rookies are
Yeah.
your uninitiated gang members.
I thought
So
those
they're
were
like,
Juves.
we
Yeah,
could
they're-
jump 'em in. We could jump them in.
yeah, they're Jews in other gangs, but Palanite Enforcers because they're the law.
So I've been
They,
playing.
they have
I've been playing a
rookies.
shit ton of Cyberpunk. So for those initiated, for those who can get it to run, they're your best chooms. Your best.
You're getting compliments about your mug, Josh.
Yeah, Thug Funny wants to know
Really?
where'd you get that mug.
Really? I got it from his ass for Christmas.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's why he's asking about it.
He just wants to bring it up. That's all.
Ken, my
So,
man, I know that you've been busy doing some hobbying on the Metal Mini front. What do we got?
See, Ken is like I am with Necromunda, where I'm trying to get people to play. That's Ken with his game.
Oh no! Your audio went out again. Did he unplug?
Bear with us, people.
Yeah,
We're trying to
live show.
figure it out.
Yep.
Hola,
Still, yeah.
hola, ¿cómo estás?
I can translate for him. He's saying, "Well, everybody wants to play Infinity. You should play Infinity. Why aren't you playing Infinity now?" No, I still can't hear you, brother.
My question is, what is Infinity and why do I want to play it?
We're gonna dub this all of Ken's parts of the show like old kung fu movie style.
Yeah, like I'm Ken. I will play Infinity, and I will roll a d20. You see it? He's like, I will roll.
What it is he's saying Infinity's not worth talking about, so he won't talk about it on the show.
I do. The thing is, okay, so this would be it's actually a good segue while he gets his tech issues worked out. But am I alone in I kind of tier my games? So Dungeons and Dragons is off to the side; it doesn't get tiered because it's always D&D is always.
It is live.
Right. But I always hobby 40K as much as this game frustrates the hell out of me. It's my number one game, right? It's the game. I got the biggest collection. I get massive cognitive dissonance if I leave it on the shelf and play another game. But then I have a second game. This is the game that I'll play, I'm happy to play in lieu of 40K. Then I have a tertiary game that's the game that is always swapping out and this is the game I really am excited to play, but it's it's not Warhammer and it's not.
Yeah.
So anyway, for me, it's Warhammer, Blood Bowl, and right now, Crisis
go.
Protocol. There you go.
You're back.
You're back. So Crisis Protocol. So, and I've told Ken this multiple times, but I don't know how many. There's been so many times where Infinity has almost cracked that third spot for me, and it got edged out by Infinity by Crisis Protocol in this last round when I was redrafting stuff, mostly because of Will's influence. But Infinity
I
looks
will
like
look at you,
it.
dude.
Yeah, it looks like the ultimate skirmish game, especially because Games Workshop has two kind of skirmish games right now. It's got Warcry, which is
Real quick.
yeah,
Infinity Protocol. Okay, I've seen some models that everybody's been painting,
right.
and everybody's been painting like classic costumes. But I want to start painting some Infinity Protocol non-classic
Protocol.
costumes.
Crisis Protocol.
Crisis Protocol. I'm sorry.
Well, that's
sorry.
Infinity Protocols when you mash the two together.
Yeah, which would be interesting.
I want to do like some different, like Brown Wolverine, or Captain America when he's got his black suit, or
So
Spider-Man when he's got his
what
black
I
suit.
heard is you're going to get into the game, paint your models in a different scheme to show everybody up. That's what I heard, right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Well, I show everybody up all the time anyway. But I
But-
guess I could paint it too to just like solidify everything.
Put your money where your mouth is. Until your models are painted and on the table, it don't mean shit.
Yeah. Anyway, but so for me, 40K, Blood Bowl, Crisis Protocol, multiple times it should have been Infinity because it looks to me like the ultimate skirmish game, especially because Games Workshop is dropping, in my opinion, dropping the ball on Kill Team, especially Kill Team
Agreed.
and Warcry, which
Kill Team
was
what?
super simple, too simple.
Kill Team was
unfortunately.
badass a year and a half ago.
Yeah. No. So Ken,
Yeah,
tell us
Ken,
about
you're
your,
back. Anyways, go,
Now that you're back.
So, Infinity-wise, the reason I like it is the most tactical skirmish game I've ever played. And I've tried a whole bunch of them at one point or another. It's not like Malifaux or what's the Privateer Press game, War Hordes, where those are power-based. This is based off of how you move, how your opponent can react, where your guys are placed is important. So, for instance, one of the coolest things that I like is you can always shoot at the other person when you see them, right? But the other person can also shoot at any line along their path. Normally, when you play any tactical game, it's you move, and then you shoot from whatever position you move at, right? That's pretty common. In this case, let's say I moved from here to here, I can shoot from any point in there. If it's better in my range band, I can shoot from there. But your opponent, who's waiting for you to move, can also shoot you at any point. So he's like, oh, you're not in cover there. I'm going to shoot you there. All right, so it makes you think about even how you move each one of your guys for each activation. It's not just point A and point B. It's everything in between. Which
Right.
that's just one of the tactical levels of it.
right. And if you go if you got two buildings, right, and then there's the opening, and then you go across those buildings, you're gonna get shot by everybody that can see you, XCOM style.
With no cover.
Yeah.
Because they're going to shoot you when you're in between the
Right.
buildings, not when you're behind cover.
10% you're gonna hit, and then you don't hit. That's actually
Yeah, no, that's XCOM, right? Okay, yeah,
But you also got camouflage units that just are little markers on the table that you have no idea what they are. You know there's a dude there, but you don't know what that dude is or what he can do.
yeah. That's so badass.
All right. Or drop troops that drop in, and I think I have one here that drop in. And the thing is you don't know they're on the table. You might know if you know all their points cost that there's some points missing, but you don't know what those points are. They could be hidden in the middle of the table, or they could drop behind your back lines, combat jump style, and
Alright,
take out your rear guys.
So let me ask you this, because before the show we were talking about Crisis Protocol and the cost of their models. So what is the price point for Mike to get into Infinity right now? Say he wants a starting faction, gang, whatever they're called in
So-
Infinity. What's the price point?
So if you wanted a full-size tournament box, they make a bunch of those, one for almost all the factions. And if you go on to a miniature market type site or something like that, it's going to be $65. If you get it in a store, it's going to be $85. But that'll get you a 300-point tournament army. It may not be the best tournament army or have what you want, but it's a good starting point. And after that,
Is it
you're looking at
competitive
usually
out of
about
the box. Is it competitive out of the box, or am I gonna have to go pick up some other stuff to make it competitive?
honestly, it depends on how you play. If it's to your play style and how you like to play, yes, it could be competitive. Is it going to be the very best of the best? No, but then again, you're looking at maybe you want to get maybe you use 6 of the models out of that box of 10, but then you go pick up 4 or 5 more that suit your play style more. You're still only looking at that point. It's about $750 a model on average.
The one thing that's, and like I said, I've almost bought this multiple times, is that I was confused in, they have individual blisters. They have army packs, which I believe are those 60, 75 with the 300. Is that what they're called? Army packs, right?
Now they're called action packs.
Action packs, that's right. They used to be called army packs. But I remember, like, not all the factions had one, and then some of them had, here's a box with a few units, not an army. It was just really confusing.
And they are not the best at getting their product out there in a logical manner. I will not doubt about that. They could make it much easier to get in their game, which is what they tried to do with Code 1, but they released Code 1, which is supposed to be their new beginner, lighter on the rolls, these are the models you use type thing, but it came out in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be a recurring theme tonight.
So,
yes, it is.
So because I said I was going to think about it when I wasn't talking about it, I went ahead and posted those heads for the Judge Dredd heads in the chat for the YouTube video. If anybody wants to see them, and it's from a company called Puppets War out of somewhere in Europe. I've got some of their bits before; they're pretty good.
Yeah, no, I got a whole for my Emperor's Children. I got some really cool shoulder pads with the skull like flying off.
They got some cool stuff, man. They're worth checking out if you've never seen Puppets War before. And they don't just make like Space Marine bits or whatever. I mean, it's for
they got some Astra Mill type third party bits.
But and chaos and all sorts of stuff.
So to the whole thing about your price point for Infinity, you can for about the same amount have an actual team for Crisis Protocol as well. Now it's less models, but they are bigger. But you can start playing Crisis Protocol for about the same amount of money.
I already have.
Let me ask this. So, is Infinity off of a D20 system?
Yes.
That's kind of what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Crisis Protocol off of a D6.
8.
D8, but it's multiple dice, not one. You get multiple dice per your stats. But anyway.
Just as a quick selling point for Infinity, it's got one of the coolest dice systems, and this is how it works, right? So whenever you're reacting to something, so let's say it's my active turn, and Will is reacting to me, and I cross my guy over, and my guy's got a gun that shoots 3 bursts. So I'll roll 3d20. He can only shoot 1 back, so he'll roll 1d20, or maybe he'll dodge or whatever he does. But this is called a face-to-face roll. We're going directly against each other. So what happens is we both take our stat. Let's say he's shooting at me and I'm shooting at him. I have a ballistic skill of 13. He's got a ballistic skill of 12, right? I roll my 3d20. He rolls his 1, right? The goal is you have to get under what your stat is, equal or under, but higher than the other person. Mm-hmm. So if I rolled a 1, 6, and 7, and he rolled a 9, he wins and cancels out all my shots.
I like that because you said it's not like D&D where the higher you get, the better. You have a target number, not just rolling the highest. So I like that.
And what's even neater is, let's say, in this case, I rolled an 11, a 2, and a 1, and he rolled a 5. He would cancel out my 2 and 1 and only take the 11. So it partial cancels out the shot. So it makes for a really dynamic interlocking system rather than just you roll and then I roll my saves. And then you still get your armor saves and you get a thing called a guts check to see if you get hit by that fire. Your armor takes it, but you get a little antsy at that point. Might want to duck back around the corner or drop prone.
So has there been any new model releases from the Infinity guys?
Oh, dude, they're dropping stuff
Absolutely.
all the time.
Like gangbusters.
All day?
Yep. At least 4 or 5 a month.
Well, didn't you say, Ken, they just come out with a whole new box set and everything to get people into the game?
Yes, Code 1. They also dropped they're also talking about dropping a new faction, or they dropped a new faction fairly recently called the O12, which are like Big Brother, if you want to look at them. They're like the world or interplanetary government. So kind of like the UN, but with actual power.
And and over the editions, factions have merged and disbanded, and because there was like a like an Asian faction that turned into 2 factions. Oh, and
You still have
yeah.
your Yu Jing, which is your Asian faction, but they also have a bunch of what are called non-aligned armies, and these are like usually a mixture of other armies that are out there as like mercenary companies or rebel companies.
But that was again part of the confusion. Okay, so everybody knows 40K. So 40K, I'm gonna play Space Marines, right? I don't know why you would, but you're gonna play Space Marines because you like the tasty rerolls and
salamanders, bro.
and
So
OP
it
strategies,
begins.
right? So you're gonna play Space Marines. You got your Space Marines line, as opposed to this one where it was because I wanted to be the ninjas on the bikes, and I was like, dang it, what faction is that? Because they had the symbol, and my point was I had to go and do all this research to find out who can go with these armies, and they were like I ended up finding out that it is an offshoot of this one, but it was again it should be less confusing to the consumer who wants to just jump in.
I agree with their website, and I think they could do a lot of work on there. And when we get into the hype section, I'll talk a little bit about how they don't do enough. They leave too much to their players on there. But on the other hand, if you look at the rule book, a lot of people say it's confusing. But if you took Warhammer and you combined all the codexes and all the abilities and all the equipment into one book along with the rule book, that would be a pretty eye-opening experience. And that's basically what the main rulebook does. You get everything in the main rulebook. You get all the skills that all armies can use. You get all the weapons that all armies can use.
So I don't need a supplemental book if I try to get into the game. I just buy the core and then I'm good to go.
You don't even have to buy it. You can download it for free.
Download it. Yeah, it's all free.
Bam!
The book is free?
Yeah.
Suck it, Games Workshop.
All their rules are free. You can buy books too, and what they do
they got a
is,
wiki. Yeah.
and they got an excellent wiki, a wiki that's actually linked to their Infinity Army app on the phone or whatever. You actually, if you're on the phone and you're playing your army and you don't know what something does, you touch it and it will link you to the wiki automatically.
That's badass because I just spent like $100 on books for 9th edition.
No, all the rules are
If it
free.
all on online, that would have been way better.
Don't get me started on that.
The only thing you really need to pay for is if you want it, the lore books. So like the main rule book comes with 2 books, and this is the best thing ever. Rather than having one big rule book that has the lore and the rules in it, it comes in a sleeve, and one book is the lore book and one book is a rule book. So you only have to take one with you.
That's dope as fuck.
Hey,
But
Games Workshop did that before too, but then they shit the bed in the newer editions. But that's a different conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. So they walked backwards on that rather than keep moving forwards, and I swear it's just so they can sell that little rule book that they always release with a box set like 2 years down the road after the rules come out. But all the rules though are free. Everything they come out with, all the expansions, everything, that's always free. The only reason you ever want to have to pick up the books is either A, you want to support the company, B, you really like to have a paper format, which I do, or C, you really want the lore that comes along with it.
Right.
You're old school like me. Like I still want paper books. Like I don't do ebooks. I want paper. I still write my list on paper, which apparently is just the weirdest thing in the world.
I either write it out or I print it out. I never just rely on a app or anything like
But
that.
I want a physical list. I don't want Army Builder or the GW app or whatever. I like having my paper right there that I can flip over and look at it, whether it be a printout or a handwritten list. And that's any game. That ain't just Warhammer.
Yeah, that's because Will doesn't trust them quote unquote electric boxes.
That's Big Brother trying to.
Evil electric
I
boxes.
don't agree with that. I don't
That's
agree with
Big
that.
Brother trying to get into my army list and trying to steal my Pornhub password.
But I'll make a challenge for you guys going forward. I'm in
Password is
Okay,
fine.
hold on. We're about to be challenged.
I'm in the market for a second game. Somebody recently showed me Malifaux, and I was a big fan of Warmahordes back in the day, and Malifaux is a similar combo powers-based system rather than a straight strategic game, which is what Infinity is. So I'm looking for a second system. So if one of you guys want to demo MCP for me, I'd be more than willing to do that, and maybe that will be my second system, because Warhammer is on the outs with me right now, and not to mention I've got like 120 Sisters of Battle to paint before I even start. So yeah, if somebody does that, and I will do an Infinity for anybody that wants a demo of that. So
yeah. I've got.
So what we need to do is plan an afternoon. You come over to the house, teach me Infinity. We'll play on my new table. I'll teach you Necromunda.
right now, Malifaux is the winner. So unless something happens before I get into that, that would be my second game, and that would lock me in.
Malifaux's a good
We're talking
game.
about Malifaux. They were doing Malifaux just up the street from my house the other day.
Yeah.
Ken was there.
Was Ken there?
Was it Gamers Gems?
Yeah, Gamers Gems.
Yeah,
with
when
Caesar?
you were there
Yeah,
with Caesar.
I was there. Yeah, that's where I
I was
played my
gonna go.
first game.
And Caesar looked like, I mean, he's all for it. He even had a gang for me to play with, but I just had some stuff come up, so I couldn't go.
Don't get me wrong, Malifaux is a great
You were the
game.
one he was waiting for. Okay.
Malifaux is a great game, and I think and this is me because I play the white trash Bayou Gremlins for Malifaux. But I think the best thing about Malifaux is there are no dice. You use a deck of cards, you get a hand, and you flip those cards over, and it's great. It's awesome. It's great. I love that.
It adds a whole different level of strategic value to it, because although it is a powers combos based system, those cards as they're coming out, you're like, well, I've already pulled 3 13s this round. I know, or in a bunch of 12s, you start looking at what you're going to get, so it's not totally random. You can start to count on it after a while.
And if you can count your cards and your opponent's cards to know when those jokers are played, know when those face cards are played, it makes a big difference. And you have a system for cheating fate. So like in Warhammer or any other game where you roll a bad dice, you roll a bad dice. Occasionally there's a reroll. But in Malifaux, well, you know, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
You don't play Space Marines, I'm guessing. Okay.
I don't play Space Marines. But in Malifaux, you have a hand of cards where you can do what's called cheating fate, where you can then affect the rolls by playing those cards. But the good thing too is if you get the crappy Joker, you can keep that in your hand where it never comes up in an actual duel. So there's some other level of strategery that doesn't exist in some of these other dice games.
Or you can even discard that to power one of your abilities.
Yes.
Because it would be like discard a card so you can move 3 inches forward with this dude.
So but the only difference there is if you blow it out.
Card games, man. I play spades, I play poker, so I count cards. Like, I know what you got in your hand.
That's cool. I love the just any new mechanics. Again, just the prospect of D8s I'm excited about for Crisis Protocol. And I was so turned off by the direction of the kill team is going. And then we tried Warcry, and that game seemed to turn into basically fishing for sixes. Like, stats were irrelevant. So, I mean...
Warcry is not the game, man. Warcry is not the game.
Here's the limitation of D6s, and this is... So, again, let me comparison between Infinity and Warhammer. So, in Infinity, you can have mods up to plus 12 and minus 12.
Right, I know it gets
right?
nuts. Yeah.
And it goes back and forth, and it doesn't take a real long time once you get used to it, though it does at first as you're getting used to it. It's, adds a little complexity to it, but it also adds a lot of strategic depth that you don't get out of a D6 system, especially a D6 system where they've limited the possible number of mods to +1 and -1, which is probably one of the things that irritates me most about the new about 9th edition is the fact that if you're shooting at a guy who already gives you a -1 to shoot, you might as well move with your heavy weapons and shoot through cover because it doesn't matter at that point.
So now that you bring it up, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, because I am just salty as shit right now about 9th edition. So let's just go ahead and talk about it, get it out of the way, so we can turn this conversation back into something fun.
Right. Yeah. So
I don't know, man. Talking about the salty shit might be fun.
Well, it's so funny because we have these other conversations as a group, but me and Will have been sharing fairly the same sentiment. Is that we're going to be talking about hype, frankly, in how the various hobby companies do it, what we like about it and whatnot. But one of the sentiments is that 40K, which is probably the game that most of the Red Star plays, and everybody just loves Games Workshop. I am not hyped, and I know that Will shares the sentiment, to take my number one game on the tier list that I talked about earlier and to bring it to the table, man. I frankly am not. I just I feel like those people in past editions were like, I skipped this edition because I just don't like the way it's going, and that's where I'm at right now.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm going to bash GW, whatever. I love Warhammer. It has been my game for almost 20 years now, and it's by far the front runner in a lot of aspects. And for me to sit here and talk crap about it, I almost feel like Jodie Foster in the Crying Game, But I'm just not happy with the direction of the game. And maybe, benefit of the doubt, it's the pandemic, maybe it's Brexit, but I'm just not happy with the way it is. It's been all Marines all day for 6 months.
I've been digging combat patrols. 500-point combat patrols have been it's like what Kill Team should be, which is cool because I could bring some new toys.
Right.
I've been liking that. I've definitely been liking that. I've played some games here at the house. I can bring a drop pod or maybe a rhino, but it's not like a 4-hour game. And that's what I've been liking about Ninth.
And we were playing Crusade pretty hot and heavy there for a while, but my issue is that for 6 months, it's been nothing but Marine releases. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Marines are the devil, and if you play Marines, then you're a freaking turd. That's not what I'm saying. I got 5,000 points of Primaris Marines sitting here, and another 5,000 points of Firstborn Marine over here for my Raptors. I'm not anti-Marine. But when you only put out Marines, and that to include my number one army is Death Guard. I have nothing but Death Guard and Nurgle stuff all over my desk right now. But when you only put out Marines, it stagnates the game. Where are the IG? Where are the demons? Where are the pointy ears? Where are these other games? These other factions like Tyranid.
Why can't they do it? Why can't they do it? Is the question.
That's my question. I mean, I haven't seen a book in 6 months that hasn't had a 3+ armor save. And I take umbrage with it because it stagnates the game. There's no variance in the factions, and we've talked about this on and off in our group chats and stuff like that. And we have differing opinions. And I'm not anti-Marine. I have Marine armies, but it just makes for a very boring game when nothing but Marines are being released. And then today they put out their doggone preview thing. Guess what? It's nothing but freaking Marines again. It's all Dark Angels. It's all the new Primaris stuff. And it's just, let's get to the Drakari. Let's get to the Tyranids. Let somebody else have the limelight for a little while and break this game up a little bit.
And the worst part is...
What is Tyranids?
Yeah. The worst part I feel, too, is that they have this... They're so good in so many areas that are relatively new, at least from the 2nd edition when they introduced the doctrines, and then when 8th edition introduced stratagems. Stratagems have gotten completely out of hand, I think. I know they've rolled back what can get re-rolled, but that's not to say that you can't easily get re-rolls still. Those are my two biggest gripes of 8th and 9th. Overall, but now when 9th came out, the fact that the game is won by taking and holding objectives, it's like, yeah, who can do that? Marine equivalent armies, but you have so many factions that are not built to sit on a point outside of cover and hold it for the whole game. They are not, especially when like a Primaris unit can shoot them off the board every round.
Yeah, like the fucking Outrider bikes, they're insane.
Yeah, well, and they are working to fix some of those things. You mentioned Outrider bikes. Outriders have went up in points. Mike, you mentioned stratagems, and they are toning that down, especially in the Death Guard Codex. Some of the things in the Death Guard army that was super overpowered, they are toning it down. Now, they threw the baby out with the bathwater with that one, but that's a different conversation. So they are working on it.
Eradicators and the Salamanders right now are just overpowered. They're just
overpowered. Shit, I'll be the last person to argue that one, especially since Eradicators went down in power level from the preview to the Codex. So I'm not going to argue with you there. And don't get me wrong, I get
squads of them bastards, and they shoot things off the table.
And don't get me wrong, I get that like Thug Funny mentions in the chat, I get they make the money. And I'm not saying they shouldn't get attention. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that there's a disparity in the attention that other non-Marine armies are getting, and that includes Chaos. I'm Chaos through and through. I got multiple Chaos armies, but they're still doggone Marine. But let's give somebody else some love too. Put the Eldar out there. Put the Genestealer cults. Let's give us something to break stuff up because they need some attention too. And I get Marines, that's where the new players gonna focus, and they're gonna jump on that. But let's throw it around a little bit.
I don't know, man.
Agreed.
Just holistically, I'm just not a fan of the direction. That doesn't mean I don't have a good time when I play, because I play cool people and we shoot the shit and just hang out, and it's a good time, and I like that. You know, I'm just not a fan of it. It's almost as though I channel an old man when I'm like, I miss the days of a data sheet. This is a Terminator's. This is the ability it has. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know, versus it's just data sheet on data sheet. No rerolls. Bring your troops. Bring tanks, and let's fight against them. Not this. Okay, hold on a second. Let me shoot. Let me see. What was the outcome of that? Let me see. How can I turn this outcome? You know what I mean? It didn't go my way, to ensure that it goes my way by going, you know what? I think I will, pay a CP or 2 CP to have them shoot again to ensure your destruction. You know what I mean? Whereas I was elated by like, oh my God, I can't believe I survived that. Now it's like, no, let me just go ahead and ensure that it does die with these new mechanics that were added, so on and so forth. Oh, and also it's the second round, so you actually don't get an armor save. And it's just I'm over it. I don't like it.
And to not sit here and keep naysaying over and over and over again, but they are working on it. They are making some changes. I feel like they are now, with the newer books, trying to get back into the way the old Force Org, back when the Force Org chart meant something. They are trying to get back to that. They have the introduction of the core units, which is making a big difference, and they're trying to stop certain spams like the can't have more than one captain per detachment. So if you're going to take more than one, you got to spend the CP, and that's not to mention the Lords of the Death Guard rule, which is a completely different can of worms, and I'm not going to get into it. But so they are trying to work it out a little bit, but it won't be worked out until we get more books out, other than the Marines.
Right.
But when are we going to see these books? How long are we going to stagnate?
That looks like the next. It looks like the next book to be coming out after the Drew Carries or the Sisters of Battle after yesterday's preview. So, yeah, guess what? They're all 3+ power armor saves too.
Well, I kind of like. I guess there'll be a point in time where, again, in the perspective lens comes into view. There'll be a point in time where they're all out of the way, right? And every release is those underrepresented factions, I suppose.
Well, as of the 30th of January, the only Marine Codex left is going to be Grey Knights, and nobody gives a shit about Grey Knights.
Well, here's where I see Will. So I was looking over the releases. I was looking at the
team 100%.
The kill team, yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
Your team, that's a different conversation. Go ahead, Ken.
I was looking at the releases over the past, and what I hope happens is when they have all these non-Marine armies come out, that those months are dedicated, and maybe the months around them are dedicated to releasing stuff for those non-Marine armies, and not like they've done in the past where they release, let's say, a Drukhari Codex, but also drop like 2 or 3 models from the Marines during that same time.
That is the worst part of this whole thing. Is like, it's Death Guard week, guys. He's like, everybody pre-order, here's some sweet rules, and by the way, the Blade Guard Veteran box set is coming. I'm like, God damn it.
Hey, Death Guard players, here's your new character in the poop furnace. By the way, next week we're releasing 7 more Space Marine kits.
You're right. You're 100% right, Ken. And you know, what's because we're talking about hype, and this is what this precedent, you're conditioning your customers to going, this codex is coming out, and I'm going to get something tasty with it, right? And then the codex comes out, and Space Marines get Blade Guard Vets, they get the Outriders, they get Heavy Intercessor, all of these new units, right? And then it's like, man, I can't wait for when the Death Guard come out. What are we going to get? Are we going to get, what are we going to get new? You got a character, right?
You know what they're going to get? They're going to get delayed a month.
Yeah, you got a character and a building.
2 months, 2 months.
So it's like when the Astra Militarum finally comes with me, and it's like, man, what are we gonna? Are we gonna get new Catechins? Are we gonna get like a redesigned Cadian Guard? Are we gonna get a new tank? And it's like you end up not getting anything. That's kind of uncool too, man. I mean, it's feel badsies because it's like it's almost all your studio time or whatever. Everything that went into was for the releases that you already shot off, and there was nothing left for the rest of us. It's like we're gonna get our codex, but we didn't get any tasty things when we could use them, and it's happened for so long that it's really people are just over it. I think it was a meme before, and now it's just like we're just kind of over it.
It's enough to be honest with you, and I've been a Nurgle player for 20 years. I played Death Guard long before Death Guard was even a book, and I was diehard Death Guard back even in 4th and 5th edition. Even like I said, when they didn't have armies, I didn't buy the Codex yesterday when it came out. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll get back on track, but it's going to give time. But the good thing is, for right now, in the meantime, we got other games. We got Infinity that we can get on board with. We got Mike and his Crisis Protocol and all those beautiful models you've been painting and putting out. Necromunda, Malifaux, Caesar, and his guys over here are running full force with that game, and Bill Hinker and all these folks. So there are alternatives. And so, yeah, it kind of sucks to see the direction that 9th edition's going in. But there are alternatives out there that are just as good of games, and hopefully maybe one day they'll be the same size and get the same support that 40K does.
Right. And Ken, so you mentioned earlier about the issue that Corvus Belli, I believe the parent company, has with hyping up their releases. Because let me tell you, I'm not super tied in, but I'm pretty tied in to Hobby and various other games. I never hear anything about. I had no idea a new edition was coming out, and it's a cool ass game. I mean, I don't hear anything about Infinity ever.
I think the company really needs to get a marketing manager, because I think what the problem is these guys, all the guys that work there, love the game, but they don't seem to have any experience in marketing. They seem to leave everything up to the player base to go out and get new people, to bring people in. I mean, they have a great tournament system with a whole ELO ranking and everything, and full prize support and all sorts of things like that. You'd think they would be more involved in marketing it, but they don't market it. You don't see it. You have to go out looking for it. And to look for it, you need to know it exists in the first place.
Right.
And so it's almost the anti-hype. It's like they don't put any hype into it rather than over-hyping like, some companies do. So it makes me kind of sad, because it's a great game, but they need a marketing manager or something like that.
Yeah, and it's also, well, I mean, I was getting ready to say it's European, but then again, Games Workshop is also. But it's got such a massive player base in the United States of America, which is a marketing, saturated and happy, I suppose, culture.
Another company that comes from there, I guarantee you know it. You've heard them all the time, Vallejo. Vallejo comes from Spain as well.
That's right.
You know them. They've marketed themselves.
The paint company?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the paint company, based off the name of Boris Vallejo, was a very popular fantasy painter back in the day. If you have any books that are over 20 years old, chances are you have some of his artwork on some of those book covers. But
But a lot of the companies coming out of in the gaming industry are from Europe. Look at Green Stuff World. There's a lot coming out. So to say that this is happening because they're European is disingenuous.
Right, yeah. Well,
Maybe it's just a them thing. But and all those companies here in the United States are huge. Like half my paint down here is Vallejo. I stand by their product. I got tons of Green Stuff World. They make those amazing rollers for your basing and different stamping tools and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's a company thing. And Corvus Belli, if you ever get an earshot of what we're talking about, Ken's available for marketing.
right. Oh no.
They just
No.
They need get people playing. Get some of those the people with the big studios and the post-production to play at Bat Reps. I found, before I played Crisis Protocol, I wanted to ensure, I jumped into Warcry, got a couple factions, ended up selling them after we played the game because it was unbelievably shallow.
Because it's shite?
I did not look at Bat Reps, but I guarantee you I looked at Bat Reps for Crisis Protocol, because I was like, is this going to be like Warcry, but it's not. It's almost like I was
It,
really
it looks like a Malifaux or a Wormhole Horde style game. It's a combos-based power game.
yeah, and it's got cards. I don't know if those games have cards. Like
Both of them do.
Okay,
Both of them
so
have
you-
stat cards with abilities on them.
Okay, yeah, and you can do that, and yeah, so
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm very interested.
Well,
Yeah, I'd like to see more, and you know, hey, if you're out there listening, do the whole like, subscribe, and share thing. Let's get Corvus Belly listening to our little San Antonio rant here about games. But you know, I agree, getting the hype, getting the stuff out there to get more players on board is needed. But it's also going to take a player base and a player like yourself, Ken, that's passionate about the game. In the same way that like Caesar is about Malifaux and you know, maybe I'm gonna blow myself a little bit here, but me and Necromunda. But it and we've talked about this in previous podcasts. It takes a person that's passionate about a game to get other people passionate about it.
Definitely.
Quick update, Will. Caesar now has more Infinity models than I do.
It's Caesar's whole hog, man. He's
It
the
is.
same way with Malifaux.
Caesar probably has more models than any of us.
I think
He
it's
just, I mean, he literally just got into it.
well, what I think he does, because this is the kind of guy he is that he makes sure to have a faction available for somebody else to play. You know,
Absolutely.
So
Caesar has stuff, so if you don't, he's got it.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
got you.
I do the same thing that I got freaking Goliath gang sitting here on my desk that I got second hand. So if Mike comes over to my house to play on my fancy expensive ass table back here, I got something for him to play. So to sit here and say I can't get into that game because I don't have access to a team or a gang or faction or whatever, Caesar's the kind of guy that says that ain't going to be an excuse for you to not get into my game. And
Right.
I'm the same way, and I applaud his
That's why I
passion.
didn't sell off my Blood Bowl, my other Blood Bowl team. I just kept it. You know why? Because
What other Blood Bowl team do you have?
I've got
The two
3
starters.
right now. I've got
Oh, the starter,
Black
right? The
Orcs,
starters, yes,
then I got a Lizardman.
yeah.
But the Lizardman, if I'm not mistaken, is the team you got for yourself to play, right?
Yes, sir. And Andy's panning him once it gets better, of course.
Yes, one team's
Nice,
better. Get well,
nice.
buddy.
Get well, Andy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. As a matter of fact, I remember Will was talking about Crisis Protocol before because he bought out San Antonio, and then he was like, "Yeah, man, you just come over and you can play one of these factions." And the next thing I know, I'm like the guy with the boxes. Like,
This is my cheap ass finding stuff on sale for like Labor Day, and they're like 50% off,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wife, will we get divorced?
next thing I know, it's like, how can I get the X? You know, it's like I'm not gonna get the X-Men.
I want to buy them. I want to buy some Crisis Protocol stuff so bad, but like right now, like I've already spent my hobby money.
You know,
this 2 weeks.
You know what other games need? Like, for instance, Crisis Protocol. You need the cards that are in there. Even if you don't want to play any of those, if you don't want to be Avengers or Cabal. Let's say Josh wanted to be Guardians of the Galaxy. They need to sell a thing where you get the rulers, the cards that are in the box, and the dice. You know what I mean? Separately. Blood Bowl does that. Like, if you just want to buy a box, so you want to play Goblins, you don't want to buy the starter and get the pitch and all that stuff with it. They had the coaches thing, whatever, and it came with the rule book, the measuring, and stuff like that you needed to play. That you basically they took out of the starter box. If you have a starter box, you should be able to offer that up separately, so that other people can get it. Right now, you can't do that. You don't get the cards. You can buy the rulers for Crisis Protocol, and you can get the dice for sure.
That's it.
Because I just bought new dice. Because I'm about to buy Hulk, and he's going to require a ton of dice.
To be fair, Mike, their starter box for Marvel Crisis Protocol though is a really good deal. I didn't
It
know
is
how
a
much
good
it was going to
deal,
be
too,
into getting
but
the.
It's
I
got
s-
terrain in it.
yeah, it's
Yes.
got terrain. It's got what is it? 5 or 6?
Oh, no, it's got two sides.
It might have more.
Each have 5. It's
Yeah,
like 10.
Okay, so 10. So
Yeah.
here, I mean, it's a good deal. So I can see why they're sticking with that.
Yeah, but then you're like that. Then you get that, like, that dissonance over, I don't want to play a starter set faction because everybody's got that damn faction.
You know what I kind of miss? Remember back in the day, and I don't know if they still do this, But back in the day, games and game companies used to have programs for your outriders or your henchmen or whatever, where they got free stuff to be able to pimp out their games and get people to play. Companies need to bring those back. Where you
Would be
get
nice.
a dedicated member of the community that hypes it up and gets people playing and, you know, sponsors various tutorial events or whatever. They need to bring those programs back.
So Infinity, again, remember I said Infinity puts it on its players? They actually do have one of those. It's
Yeah.
called the War Core program, and you have permission to sponsor events and everything like that. And for every event you sponsor, you get points which you can use to buy, you know, stuff either on discount or get extra stuff that, you know, other people don't have access to normally. So they have that for them.
The last one that I
Did they
knew
do
of,
swag though, like any like swag bags.
Yeah, patches. They have patches for each of the factions that you can get through them. That you get. They got a bunch of stuff that comes out, changes per season of the Infinity tournament system.
well, I knew Malifaux back 4 or 5 years ago when I first got into it. They still had the henchman program, and they would send out, like you said, like patches and stickers and, you know, junk like that to be able to get it. And then they gave the whoever the designated representative was a discount to be able to get more stuff. But those are good programs, and we've talked about in previous broadcasts about how to get your game started and how to build your community. And I think that would be a good way.
Level up your community.
Yep, level up
Right,
the community.
right. But so like we mentioned Caesar, and Caesar goes whole hog, and that guy is super dedicated, buys all this stuff, but he buys it out of his pocket. Nobody gives him a break. He doesn't get discounts. He does it because he's passionate about the game and wants to get people into it. But to be able to say, if he was to become the henchman for San Antonio, which is where we're at, to be able to get people into that game, that would be good for him instead of spending his hard-earned money that he bust his ass for to get other folks into the game, or at least make it easier for him. So hopefully they'll bring those programs back or do something.
Yeah, because one of the things I'm working on, because I want to get Infinity started, but right now I need to get a second force that I can use as a demo force, and I need to build terrain because Infinity is a very terrain-heavy game.
Yeah, but they got those dope heavy card stock, like $15, right?
Yeah, but you know how many of those you need for a full 4x4 table? About 6 of them.
Do you really? Oh, I thought it was like it was one. It was
Terrain
that's
is
it.
so hard to come by.
Terrain is a huge
Terrain is the
barrier to
biggest pain
entry
in my
to any
ass.
game. It is a huge
Yeah.
barrier to entry to
It's
any
multiplayer
game.
gaming.
And so a game like Necromunda or in Infinity requires such a dense terrain with catwalks and all of these different things. So Ken, if you were to buy the what's the card stock thing that we were talking about?
Battle
for the-
systems?
No, it's not battle systems. I'm sorry, maybe it was a different. I'm sorry, I'm on so many doggone chats.
To give you an
But-
idea, though, Mike, for if I want to do a full 4x4 table of the proper density, I need at least 3 of those battle systems core boxes, and 4 would be better. So
Jeez.
that's $400.
Yeah, $400. The little packs I've seen for 15 or $25.
No, these are the
Tinker
Tinker Turf.
Tinker Turf, yeah.
So-
And that's about the density you're looking at for an Infinity game.
So how many of those do you need to get started in Infinity?
I probably need 3 of those.
Jesus, man, me and Josh will just play Blood Bowl. It's a pitch.
I'm making foam terrain, so
Should I can't say anything, man. I've got $1,200 into this fucking table behind
but
me
if
right
you
now.
ever want to see some truly war game dedicated terrain people, go onto your web browser and type in Infinity Terrain and look at the stuff people come up with for that game. They are the most dedicated people.
But I think that could be said about most games. Like so every Sunday I do a hobby day with some of the local Red Star guys, and we sit around my dinner table, build models, talk shit, whatever. But we were talking about Malifaux earlier because I am obsessed with not Malifaux, sorry, Mordheim, because I'm obsessed with Mordheim. And have you ever seen the tables that these people make for a game that's been out of production for 20 years? Today they make
Played
these.
more time when I was 12 years old, dude.
Right, these people make these doggone tables that are like production, like TV level grade of tables for a game that has not been produced or supported by the company for 20 years. And so there's some dedicated folks out there, and I'm sure there are for Infinity, and I'll definitely be Googling that stuff when we get off here.
Yeah, the cityscapes and stuff. No, I mean, just the stuff you can do with foam, though, I'm kind of excited. That's my next hobby thing. Once I get the hobby shed done, is I need to make some terrain, and I'm getting into this foam crafting. And I've been watching these YouTube videos of these people making these things out of foam that don't look like they're made out of foam when they're done. They look real to almost a insane degree. I don't think I'm gonna hit that point, but it's nice to know it's possible.
But you got something to aspire to.
Exactly, it gives me motivation.
Bolt action. Simon says Bolt Action Players has some crazy terrain builders. There's every time I go into Hobby Lobby, there's already like this. They have lots of World War II miniatures, terrain stuff there, and models for people to build dioramas. I think that would be perfect. I don't know what scale they are, but
I don't really know either, but I've seen a little bit of it. I thought it was for like model trains or some shit.
yeah. But
Works
Hey,
the
those-
same.
Hey, don't be hard on them model train guys. You ever been to Dibbles and listen to those people talk about their
Hey,
models?
they
They're
like
this,
it.
this isn't the 78 model because the 78 model had split tail lights. Yeah, those guys are some hardcore
yeah.
people.
Hey, respect.
Train stores have always been my best source wherever I've been in the United States for finding terrain for any game.
And rest in peace, San Antonio, Hobbytown, USA, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, they still have them in Dallas.
Well, the one that was here, the local one closed down, unfortunately. So, but Dibbles
Hey, guys.
Hobby is still great.
Dibbles Hobby is great.
Real quick. I gotta sign out. I got something going on.
All right, man. Take it easy,
Take
buddy.
care, bud.
All right, love you guys. It was a great cast. I really wish I could keep the conversation going on, but I have something important going on. I'll see y'all soon. Not this coming up Sunday, but next Sunday.
Yeah.
Insert inappropriate joke here.
Exactly. Please insert inappropriate joke there. All right, guys.
All right, man. Take it easy, bud.
Love y'all. See you soon.
See you later, buddy.
We're trying not to get kicked off YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny is that because we've got and that's perfectly fine that we've gone off script. But when it comes to hype, I wanted to talk about how Marvel Crisis Protocol does it, because when you think about, I've literally since I've been painting these, I paint these and watch all because I own all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Now, you have a massive generation of people that saw these billion-dollar movies, fans that have been fans of the comic books for years, decades, right? And this skews towards the look of the comic books. Like, Ronin looks ridiculous, right? Like comic book Ronin, not movie Ronin.
Well, they went Asteroid M with their Brotherhood, and
Yeah.
their comic books are based off the actual comic book.
The-
Sorry,
the-
their costumes are based off
Yeah,
their
the comic book looks.
Yes.
But it's such a license that everybody can immediately jump in and collect your favorite characters. I've just been thinking how perfect an idea it was to make a really badass miniatures game based off of this property. Now, they've had hero clicks and stuff in the past for sure, but it's just so it literally is like the X-Men. I know it's blasphemy for a lot of you. X-Men, don't move the dial for me. I'm not interested in getting any X-Men or any Brotherhood of Mutants, right? But the Avengers, who doesn't love the freaking Avengers? Or I'm looking forward for the Defenders, because I love my low stakes heroes that are not fighting Galactus. I want some guys that are.
Doctor Strange is part of the
That's well. I
Defenders?
mean,
what?
yeah. I guess they don't have.
But
yeah.
I think you put it the best when we were talking in our pre-show chat that Crisis Protocol allows any player to play out their childhood, their memories of the comic books and their experiences and the things they read as a child, not necessarily the movies.
Right.
And I think that you put it that there's no more elegant way you could have put that to get people into Crisis Protocol.
Right. It's like whenever, for instance, you're gonna whenever the Blob comes out and the Juggernaut comes out, we're gonna put it to the test, right? We're gonna put this to the test. The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Who would win? It's like, all right, let's roll some dice and find out.
I'm so disappointed that Blob is not announced. They have pseudo-announced Juggernaut. but I was like, you can't put out Toad without Blob.
Right.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, he'll come out soon.
They've been moving at a pretty good clip,
Dude,
though,
it's
so.
insane. So when did when did it release? 19?
Black Friday of last year, I bought my starter box, and that was the week everything came out. It was the starter box. It was Hulk and MODOK.
MODOK.
That was it. Those were the only ones, and that was Black Friday last year. Since then, 61 models. Sorry, I guess now 64 models because they just released She-Hulk, Enchantress, and somebody else. It was a dual box with Enchantress. So 60.
Angela,
yes.
Yeah.
So 64 models since Black Friday a year ago.
Now cranking them out.
That is huge. And a year and 2 months, 3 months now. 63 models is huge.
It sounds like, from what you guys are describing, I still have to play it so I can make my own decision, but it sounds like they made a really good rule set on top of a really good intellectual property.
Right, which is, of course, I'm glad you brought that up. It's not, because we've chosen to kind of do the lockdown more binary approach than some others have, but I haven't been able to play it. I got it on Tabletop Simulator, and I should try to get a game on that. But I've read the rule book. I've read the rule book through and through. I've seen multiple battle reports, but the system allows you to be able to bust those things out. Like, okay, take a second. What's going to happen here? Okay, I get 2 activations, and I've got Proxima Midnight within 2 inches of Thanos, right? And I need her to get over here and take out Spider-Man because he's holding an objective. He's like, you take a second. How can I do this? All right, well, hold on. First thing I'm going to do with Thanos is I'm going to bust out one of his abilities. I'm going to move her, you know what I mean, to get her into position so that way she doesn't have to use one of her activations to move and to get into place. And then I'm going to activate her. She's going to whoop up on Spider-Man. Is she going to kill him? No, she's not going to kill him. I'm going to play a card that allows her to take away, or I'll play a card from somebody that allows her to take away her activation token, but I got to roll 4 dice. And if I roll X, Y, or Z on those dice, she takes damage. So it could, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the benefit is that she's no longer activated. I can activate her again. So I was worried because I was so bit by Warcry and I lost. I jumped in a lot of money and then I sold it for really quickly. I was really worried that it wasn't going to have a system where I can go like, hold on, let me think about what I want to do here and how can I pull this off? You know what I mean? Pushing people, picking people up, picking friendlies up, throwing them, moving people around, using stones to trick people to come to you. I mean, and then plus the inherent abilities that you have and the attacks that you have makes it not the deepest game, but deep enough, I think, for a pretty good rule set for a property that's legit already.
There's a lot of dynamics in Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I agree with you that there's a depth there that doesn't exist. And say, like, we talked about Warhammer a lot today. Warhammer, you have a movement phase, a shooting phase, a psychic phase, an assault phase, blah blah blah, and you participate in those phases as much as possible. But what I like about Crisis Protocol and even Necromunda is that it's all about action economy. You get 2 actions. That's it. 2. Now you can move, you can shoot, you can move, attack, whatever, but you can only do that in the confines of your 2 actions. So you really have to think about it. How are you going to use those? Are you going to use those to shoot? Are you going to use those to throw terrain? Are you going to use those to power up an ability? Whatever the case may be, but there's a certain level of thinking that has to go into those games that does not exist in Warhammer. And I'm not crapping on Warhammer. Don't get me wrong. It's a massive scale. It is a snapshot of a large scale battle. And I get that you can't have that level of complexity. But with Crisis Protocol, you have to choose how are you going to spend those 2 actions to benefit your team as much as possible.
Well,
and there's a level of thinking that you just don't have in Warhammer there.
I agree. I think the problem with Warhammer in that sense is just that it's between scales. It's between that really big scale of what they're kind of trying to go for, but
Right,
it
like a
can't
war.
get there.
Yeah.
Like a war, but
Yeah.
it's also not a strategic level, squad-based tactics game. It's between those, and it doesn't really know which direction it wants to go in a lot of cases. It almost tries to do both of them, kind of, and doesn't end up doing both of them the best. It's still what it does the best is lore. So I don't want to be
Yes,
so,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
absolutely, but
but since we're talking about hype, as much as I want to hype up Marvel Crisis Protocol because I've fallen head over heels for that game, my only complaint is that it is still a very two-dimensional game. So the way it works is that you have all this terrain, and say you got
yes.
Spider-Man
this is
or
unique.
yeah, even if you got Spider-Man or Captain Marvel or anybody up here on top of this building, then you got Crossbones that moves up to the building down here. Even though there is 6 inches between the two of them, because their bases are in line, they're still considered to be within 1 inch of each other.
Yeah. It's weird that it has terrain, but it's a 2D. It's very much a 2D game.
Yes.
It's base to base, and you will get cover. And cover in this game means that you can, if you're within an inch of something that obscures one point of a base to the other point of the base, you get to re-roll one of your dices to a save, essentially, to a free save for having cover. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so that's how their cover works in that game.
But it's I think it's, I'll be honest with you, like if you're gonna have terrain, one of the biggest ass whips is arguing over goddamn terrain. And this doesn't have it. You see the guy, you can see the guy. If you can't, you can't. But it's all 2D. And there's no like, okay, so you have a building that's like you said, it's a tall building. In order to get up on that building, no matter how far you could move, which is large, medium, or small, you move small to climb. That's it. So if you move large and long, in order to get up on this building, you move small, and then you're on it.
Yeah, that is my only gripe about that game.
I fear that
and
that's
I mean
going
that
to be.
my only gripe.
I fear that's going to be like, because Warmahordes, I don't know if you guys ever played that back in the day, but that had a big case of nobody wanted to use terrain, or terrain didn't really matter.
Did I ever tell you about my first game of War Machine and Hordes?
Did you run into an evil person?
I sign up, I buy all this stuff, and I line up on the game, and then they go, okay, well, I do this, I jump over your guys, I make these attacks, I killed your leader, the game is over, thanks for coming. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, your hero died. The game
you run into those guys are in every game.
Yeah,
it's that same guy that's hanging around waiting for that new player to come in and play Warhammer with his just out of the box, 500 points, and he brings like this carefully tailored list meant to dismantle you without you being able to do anything. Turn 1 death.
Yeah, it's like
right?
what Josh was saying. He's like, yeah, I take 3 squads of Eradicators. Like, God damn it, Josh.
That makes me miss the old days when Red Star, when we used to do the Friday night fluff fights, where we would purposely not allow people like that to play in our event because it was all about promoting the game and teaching people how to play. So we purposely stopped those type of I'm gonna say fucking dickhead list to come in there, because and our view as Red Star as a club was about promoting the game and a community of people where everybody can come and have fun at the game, regardless of what game it is. Now, predominantly, we tend to be Warhammer centric, because I mean, in any community, that's the big game. But the point of those games and the Friday night fluff fights was to say, Ken, you're gonna come out. We're gonna teach you how to play this game. You bring whatever you got. I'm gonna play a list. I'm gonna walk you through the game and teach you how to play it. But we purposely stopped people from bringing those stuff. And so I remember one night when we were doing Friday night fluff fights where we had two guys and they're talking. I could hear them as I was walking into the club, and the guy's like, "Don't worry about it. This is a softball list. You're gonna see this wherever you go. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it." And the guy's like, "Hey, I haven't played since 3 editions ago. I haven't bought a new model kit since 3 editions ago. This is all I got. And the guy's like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And I walk around the corner. He's got 3 Imperial Knights and a Skyhammer Annihilation Force all in drop pods. And I was like, you're a fucking dickhead. I was like, you're trying to take advantage of this guy that ain't played in years. And you're going to take a tournament level event. And so what's going to happen, this old boy that's trying to rekindle his passion to get back into the game, using what models he's got, you're going to wipe him off the table, and he ain't never going to come back. And I was like, that's the wrong way to play, in my opinion. Now, if you go to a tournament, you expect to see that level of competitiveness, but not at the Friday Night Fluff Fight events. And I kind of miss the days that we used to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited to. I'm excited to get back to, and I know that there's games being played. I am personally, is what I'm saying, excited to get back and then wrangle up like our Alamo Ranch crew and get people out there. Again, I'm very much missing that portion of my life that was hanging out with my friends.
Absolutely, 100%. And I look forward to the days that we no longer got to worry about Rona affecting people and people getting sick, and we can just get back into the game, no matter what the game is. And as much as I've crapped all over Games Workshop in 9th edition today, I'm hoping that here in the near future, they're going to get things back on track, and we can really start a crusade mission or campaign where we can come out, and Mike, you can bring your Catachin themed list or your Death Corps Decree themed list, and Kevin can bring his orcs, his speed freaks, or whatever, and we play for having fun, not play to win, but just having fun. And Crusade brings a level of advancement that you don't see in normal 40K, seeing your guys level and win these accolades and advancing themselves and their abilities. And we get to tell a story with our armies that doesn't exist in one-off games.
Yep.
To give all the props to GW for what they did, they have talked for a really long time how they really value their narrative players, and with this most recent edition that they showed that they do value their narrative players.
Yeah, and the level of Crusade support that's been, as much as I've crapped all over all the new codexes, the Crusade support that's been in every one of them has been phenomenal, and they have been very thematic and narrative in their disposition as how they interact with the rest of the army in the game. And for instance, with the Death Guard getting to create your own virus. So there's 3 aspects of it, and you get to get these contagion points or whatever they call them, and then you get to build your own virus of how they affect people and when they affect people and what happens. And I think that is a great aspect to the game. And as far as like rules, it ain't going to win or lose a game, but it's something that's unique to your army, and I think that's pretty cool. And I am, and as in theme with the show, I'm hyped as shit to get back into Crusade and being playing those type games.
Yeah.
As somebody who moved here during coronavirus, it'd be nice to meet all these people that I've talked to over Facebook and all this other thing.
What part of town do you live?
I live real close to Alamo Ranch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I live right in Alamo Ranch.
I can bike ride down there if I want to.
Yeah.
Well, then you're right in the area with Mike and his crew over there at the Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch.
Right.
Which now if you're listening to this and you don't know, they now have a huge play space.
Yeah.
They leased the place next door, knocked out a wall, and then you can go in there and they got a bunch of tables in there for y'all to go play.
A lot of great places to play in San Antonio. So
I expect my discount next time I come in there. Dragons. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think we want to kind of bring this to the finish line.
Yeah, I think we've rambled on enough at this point. And
yeah,
it's good to be back. It's good to have the folks listening and participate in the chat. If you are new to listening to us ramble on for an hour and a half, this is us. Join us in 2 weeks. We're going to be back on next Sunday, or a week from Sunday. And this is just as much a conversation with you in the chat. We're reading everything. We're participating, talking to y'all. And we want to encourage you to be part of the conversation that we're having throughout the entire broadcast.
That's right. Well said. All right, everyone. Good night.
Hey,
Good night.
good night and happy gaming. Good luck rolling dice. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Looking forward to meeting some of you guys in the future.